I stood in the back of the auditorium, watching my 7-year-old son accept his Student of the Month award, when my sister's voice cut through the applause like a knife. "You know he's not really yours, right?" The parents near us turned to stare. My blood went cold. My sister Jennifer smiled, that cruel, twisted smile she'd perfected over the years, and said it louder. "DNA doesn't lie, Sarah. That boy isn't your son." The room went silent. My son looked at me from the stage, confusion spreading across his face. And in that moment, I realized my sister had orchestrated this entire nightmare. She'd planned this humiliation down to the minute. She wanted to destroy me in front of everyone. But what she didn't know was that I had the DNA results in my purse. They'd arrived that morning in a plain manila envelope. I'd ripped it open with shaking hands at 6 a.m., reading the results 3 times to make sure I understood them correctly. And they were about to destroy everything she'd spent 6 months building. This is the story of how my own sister tried to take my child, and how I made sure she paid for every single lie. Let me take you back 6 months, because you need to understand how we got here. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 34 years old, a registered nurse at Charlotte Memorial Hospital in North Carolina, and a single mother to the most amazing kid on the planet. Up until half a year ago, I thought I had a decent relationship with my younger sister Jennifer. We weren't best friends. We'd never been those sisters who shared clothes and secrets, but we were family. We showed up for each other's birthdays. We texted stupid memes. We had Sunday dinners at our parents' house where Mom would make her famous pot roast and Dad would complain about whatever sports team had disappointed him that week. It was normal, comfortable, safe. My son Ethan is 7. He has these huge brown eyes that make him look perpetually curious, a gap between his front teeth that makes his smile absolutely adorable, and a brain that never stops asking questions. Why is the sky blue? How do airplanes stay up? What happens to stars when they die? He's brilliant, kind, empathetic beyond his years, and the absolute center of my universe. His father, my ex-husband Marcus, walked out when Ethan was 2. Just left. I remember the day clearly. It was a Tuesday morning. Ethan was watching cartoons, and Marcus packed a single suitcase. He looked at me and said, "I can't do this. I'm not ready to be a father. I don't want this responsibility." No warning. No conversation. No attempt to work things out. He just walked out the door, got in his car, and drove away. I stood there holding a sippy cup, watching through the window as his taillights disappeared down our street. I filed for divorce 3 weeks later. Got full custody without a fight because Marcus didn't even show up to court. The judge granted everything I asked for: sole physical custody, sole legal custody, child support that Marcus never paid. I rebuilt my life from the ground up, brick by brick, paycheck by paycheck. It wasn't easy. God, it wasn't easy. I worked double shifts at the hospital, 12-hour days that turned into 14-hour days because we were always understaffed. My parents helped with childcare, watching Ethan when I worked nights. I pinched every penny. I bought store-brand everything. I cut my own hair. I wore scrubs that were 2 years old and shoes with holes in the soles because Ethan needed new sneakers for school. But we made it work. We survived. More than that, we thrived. Ethan was happy, healthy, excelling in school. He had friends. He played soccer. He loved science and building things with Legos. That's all that mattered to me. Jennifer, on the other hand, struggled. She was 31, still living in our childhood bedroom at our parents' house, jumping from job to job. She'd worked as a receptionist, a retail manager, a real estate assistant. Nothing ever stuck. She'd been engaged twice, once to a guy named Derek who cheated on her, and once to a guy named Tyler who called it off 3 weeks before the wedding. Both times she spiraled. Both times she blamed everyone else. Derek was a narcissist. Tyler was commitment phobic. Our parents didn't support her enough. The universe was against her. Nothing was ever Jennifer's fault. She had this pattern, this toxic cycle. She'd meet a guy, fall hard, plan her entire future around him, and then shatter when it didn't work out. She'd spend months on the couch, scrolling through social media, comparing her life to everyone else's highlight reels, drowning in resentment. I tried to be supportive. I really did. I invited her over for dinner. I sent her job listings. I listened when she needed to vent. But there was always this edge to our relationship. This undercurrent of jealousy that I tried to ignore. About 8 months ago, Jennifer started acting strange around Ethan. She'd make weird comments that made my skin crawl. He doesn't really look like you, does he? Are you absolutely certain Marcus is his father? Did you ever get a DNA test? Just to be sure. At first, I laughed it off. I thought she was joking in that awkward way she sometimes did when she didn't know what to say. But the comments kept coming. Week after week. Dinner after dinner. I'm just saying, Sarah, you should verify these things. You never know. Mom, don't you think Ethan looks different from Sarah? Like, completely different. My mother would shut her down immediately. Jennifer, stop. That's completely inappropriate. But Jennifer wouldn't let it go. It was like she'd planted the seed in her own mind and was watering it obsessively, watching it grow into something dark and twisted. Then, 6 months ago, everything changed. Marcus showed up at my door. I hadn't seen him in 5 years. Hadn't heard from him except for the occasional missed child support payment that would hit my account 3 months late. I opened the door expecting a package delivery, and there he was. He looked rough, like life had chewed him up and spit him out. His face was thinner, his eyes hollowed out, his clothes hanging loose on his frame. Sarah, he said. I need to talk to you. My first instinct was to slam the door in his face. But Ethan called out from the living room, Mom, who is it? And I couldn't make a scene. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. What do you want? I want to see Ethan, Marcus said. I've been sober for a year. I'm in therapy. I have a job. I'm trying to be better. And I want to be a father to my son. I stared at him, searching for the lie, waiting for the catch. You walked out on him. You abandoned us. I know, he said, and his voice cracked. I know I did. And I've spent 5 years regretting it. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to let me know my son. I should have said no. Every instinct screamed at me to protect Ethan, to keep Marcus away. But my lawyer told me later that legally, Marcus had a right to supervised visitation. He was on the birth certificate. He'd never had his parental rights terminated. If I refused, he could take me to court and a judge might force the issue anyway. So I agreed. Slowly. Carefully. 1 hour a week at a park, with me present the entire time. The visits went okay at first. Ethan was confused but curious. Marcus seemed genuinely remorseful. He brought age-appropriate gifts, a science kit, a puzzle, a soccer ball. He asked questions about school and listened to Ethan's rambling stories about his friends. And, honestly, part of me thought maybe, just maybe, Ethan deserved a chance to know his father. It started innocently enough. But then Jennifer got involved. Jennifer mentioned that she'd run into Marcus at a coffee shop. Said it was a coincidence. Said they'd just talked for a few minutes. He seems like he's really trying, she told me over the phone. I think you should give him a real chance. I didn't think much of it. Jennifer was always championing underdogs, probably because she saw herself as one. But then it happened again. And again. She'd mentioned casually that she'd grabbed lunch with Marcus. That they'd texted about something funny Ethan had said. That Marcus had asked her advice about being a better father. Why is he asking you? I demanded during one particularly tense phone call. You don't have kids. You barely know Ethan. He needs support, Sarah, Jennifer said, her tone dripping with that condescending patience that made me want to scream. He's trying to rebuild his life. Someone needs to be in his corner. I'm Ethan's mother, I snapped. If Marcus needs support, he can talk to me. Maybe he doesn't feel comfortable talking to you, Jennifer shot back. You're pretty hostile toward him. I'm protective of my son. There's a difference. She sighed like I was being unreasonable. Not everything is about you, Sarah. That conversation should have been a warning sign. But I was exhausted. I was working 50-hour weeks. I was helping Ethan with homework and coordinating soccer practices and trying to keep our tiny apartment clean. I didn't have the energy to monitor my sister's social life. I should have made the energy. Because what I didn't know was that Jennifer and Marcus were meeting multiple times a week, having long conversations, building a relationship based entirely on lies. The comments at family dinners got worse. You know, Sarah, you should really get a paternity test. Just to be absolutely certain. What are you talking about? I'd snap back, my fork clattering against my plate. Of course Ethan is mine. I gave birth to him. I was there. You were there. You visited me in the hospital. I mean, are you 100% sure Marcus is the father? She'd say, tilting her head with fake concern. You guys were having problems before you got pregnant, right? My mother slammed her hand on the table. Jennifer Mitchell, that is enough. Stop this nonsense right now. But Jennifer wouldn't stop. She started posting vague things on social media. Facebook posts that said, some people raise children that aren't biologically theirs and don't even know it, crying face, and the truth always comes out eventually. DNA doesn't lie. Friends started messaging me. Hey, is everything okay? Saw Jennifer's post. Not trying to pry, but is there something going on with Ethan? If you need to talk, I'm here. No judgment. I was humiliated, confused, furious. I confronted Jennifer directly. What are you doing? I demanded when I cornered her after Sunday dinner. Why are you posting this garbage? She looked at me with those wide, innocent eyes. I'm just concerned about you, Sarah. I'm worried you're being lied to. By who? I practically shouted. Marcus? We were married. I was there when Ethan was conceived. I was there when he was born. What are you even talking about? Memories can be unreliable, she said softly. And people keep secrets. Are you insane? I asked, genuinely questioning her mental state. Do you hear yourself? She reached out and touched my arm, her face full of that sickening false sympathy. I love you, Sarah. And I love Ethan. I just think you should get a DNA test. Prove me wrong. Put everyone's minds at ease. I yanked my arm away. There's nothing to prove. You're making up problems that don't exist. But the damage was done. She'd planted doubt in people's minds. At Ethan's school pickup, other mothers would look at me differently. Conversations would stop when I walked up. Whispers followed me in the grocery store, in the pharmacy, in the hospital cafeteria. One woman, a mom I'd been friendly with for 2 years, stopped me outside school and said, I heard about your situation. I'm so sorry you're going through this. What situation? I asked, baffled. She looked uncomfortable. You know, the paternity thing. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. There is no paternity thing. My sister is spreading lies. The woman nodded slowly, like she was humoring a crazy person. Of course. I'm sure it'll all work out. She walked away quickly, practically dragging her daughter with her. That's when I realized how deep Jennifer's poison had spread. Then, about 3 months ago, my lawyer called me with news that made my blood run cold. Sarah, Marcus's attorney just filed for a court-ordered paternity test. I sat down hard, my legs giving out. What? Why? I don't know, my lawyer, a tough-as-nails woman named Patricia who'd handled my divorce, said. He's already on the birth certificate. He already has legal parental rights. There's no reason for a paternity test unless... Unless what? Unless someone has convinced him that he's not Ethan's biological father, Patricia said carefully. And he wants proof before he continues paying child support or pursuing more custody. I felt sick. Jennifer, your sister. She's been telling everyone that Ethan might not be Marcus's son. She's been posting about it online, talking to people about it. She's obsessed. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Sarah, I need you to listen to me very carefully. If your sister is conspiring with your ex-husband to falsely claim that Ethan isn't his biological child in order to avoid child support or to gain custody, that's a serious legal issue. That's fraud. That's parental alienation. But we need proof. What kind of proof? Messages, emails, recordings, anything that shows they're working together to fabricate this story. I didn't have proof. Not yet. But I was going to find it. I started paying attention. Really paying attention. I went through Jennifer's social media with a fine-tooth comb. I found messages between her and Marcus going back months, not private messages I could access, but public comments on posts that told a story. Marcus would post something vague like, "Learning some hard truths today." Jennifer would comment, "The truth will set you free." Folded hands. I found a post from Jennifer where she'd written, "Some people have everything handed to them. The perfect child. The perfect life. The white picket fence fantasy. While the rest of us struggle and fight for scraps. But karma is coming. The universe balances itself out eventually." It wasn't about Ethan being Marcus's son or not. It was about me. Jennifer resented me. She was jealous of my life, of my son, of the fact that I'd moved on after my divorce while she was still stuck in her childhood bedroom at 31. She wanted what I had. And if she couldn't have it, she'd destroy it. I called Marcus directly. I demanded to know what he and Jennifer were planning. "I just want to know the truth," he said, his voice defensive. Jennifer showed me things. Pictures. Timelines. She said you were seeing someone else when we were married. She said there were dates where you couldn't account for your time. "I was working," I said through gritted teeth. "I was a nurse working double shifts because you weren't paying child support. Every minute I couldn't account for was me earning money to feed our son." "Then why are you so afraid of a DNA test?" he challenged. "I'm not afraid," I shouted. "Do the test." "I don't care. But you need to understand that Jennifer is lying to you. She's manipulating you. She doesn't care about you or Ethan." She cares about hurting me, shaking with rage and fear, Marcus said. I was trapped. Jennifer has been nothing but supportive. If I fought the DNA test, I looked guilty. Me. If I did the test through the court system and it came back proving Marcus was the father, Jennifer would just claim the lab was corrupt. The results were tampered with. Something was wrong. She'd already poisoned everyone's minds. I needed a plan. A real plan. So I went to a private lab. I contacted a genetic testing facility in Charlotte, explained my situation, without names, just the basic facts, and asked if I could have an independent DNA test done outside the court system. "Absolutely," the lab technician said. "You'll need samples from both the father and the child. Do you have access to those?" I did. Marcus had been at my apartment the previous weekend for a visit with Ethan. He'd used the bathroom. I'd kept his disposable coffee cup from the cafe we'd stopped at. For Ethan, I used his toothbrush. I felt like a criminal, like I was sneaking around my own life. But I needed the truth in my hands before Jennifer and Marcus could twist it. I sent the samples to the lab. They said it would take 2 weeks for results. I paid extra for expedited processing and absolute privacy. Those 2 weeks were the longest of my life. While I waited for the DNA results, Jennifer ramped up her campaign against me. It wasn't subtle anymore. It was all-out warfare. She started showing up at Ethan's school. Not just for drop-off or pick-up. I'd see her car in the parking lot at random times. When I asked the front office if she'd been there, they'd say, "Oh yes, Jennifer Mitchell. She mentioned she's Ethan's aunt and wanted to introduce herself to his teachers." My stomach dropped. What did she say to them? The school secretary, a kind woman named Mrs. Rodriguez, looked uncomfortable. She asked a lot of questions about Ethan's home life. Whether he seemed happy. Whether he talked about his mother. Whether there were any concerns about his care. I felt cold all over. And what did the teachers say? They told her Ethan is a wonderful, well-adjusted child, Mrs. Rodriguez said firmly. They told her there are absolutely no concerns. But Sarah, it was strange. It felt like she was fishing for something. She was, I said quietly. She's trying to build a case against me. Mrs. Rodriguez's eyes widened. A case? For what? Custody, I said. She's trying to take my son. 2 days later, Child Protective Services showed up at my door. A social worker named Miss Patterson stood on my doorstep with a clipboard and an apologetic expression. Ms. Mitchell, we received a report of potential child neglect. I need to conduct a home inspection and speak with you and your son. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. Neglect? From who? I can't disclose that information, Ms. Patterson said. May I come in? I let her in because I had nothing to hide. She walked through every room of our small apartment. She checked the refrigerator, stocked with food. She checked Ethan's bedroom, clean, organized, full of books and toys. She looked at the bathroom, the living room, the kitchen. Then she sat down with Ethan while I waited in the kitchen, my hands shaking. I could hear their conversation through the thin walls. Do you like living here, Ethan? Yeah, it's my home. Does your mom take good care of you? She's the best mom ever. She makes me pancakes on Sundays and helps me with my science projects, and she always reads me stories before bed even when she's really tired from work. Do you ever feel scared or unsafe? No. Why would I feel scared? After 45 minutes, Ms. Patterson came back into the kitchen. Ms. Mitchell, I'm going to close this case. There is absolutely no evidence of neglect. Your son is healthy, happy, and clearly well cared for. Your home is appropriate. I don't know who filed this report, but it was baseless. I felt tears burning my eyes. It was my sister. She's trying to make me look like a bad mother. Ms. Patterson's expression softened. If someone is filing false reports, you can pursue legal action against them. I'd recommend speaking to your attorney. The moment she left, I called Patricia. She's escalating, I told my lawyer. Jennifer filed a false CPS report. She's going to Ethan's school asking questions. She's building a narrative that I'm an unfit mother. Then we're going to bury her, Patricia said, her voice hard. I'm filing for a restraining order. And if you get those DNA results showing Marcus is the father, we're going after both of them for conspiracy to commit fraud and parental alienation. What if the results don't come back in time? I asked, my voice breaking. Then we fight anyway, Patricia said. Sarah, you're a good mother. Everyone who knows you can see that. Don't let her break you. But Jennifer was breaking me. Slowly. Methodically. Every day felt like drowning. The whispers at school got worse. Other parents avoided me. Ethan came home one day crying because a kid on the playground said, "My mom says your mom is a liar." I held him while he sobbed. I told him that people sometimes said mean things when they didn't understand the truth. I told him he was loved. I told him nothing was going to change. But inside, I was terrified. What if Jennifer won? What if she convinced a judge that I was unstable? What if she somehow got custody and I lost my son? Then came the school event. The one that would change everything. Ethan had been nominated for Student of the Month. He was over the moon. For 2 weeks leading up to the ceremony, he practiced his acceptance speech in front of the bathroom mirror. Thank you for this award. I want to thank my mom for always believing in me. He'd pause, scrunch up his face, and ask, "Does that sound good, Mom?" "It sounds perfect, baby," I'd tell him, fighting back tears. The morning of the event, I woke up early. I had the day off from the hospital. I'd requested it weeks in advance. I made Ethan his favorite breakfast, chocolate chip pancakes with whipped cream. He wore his best outfit, khaki pants and a button-up shirt that was slightly too big because he was growing so fast. At 8 a.m., the mail came. I walked to the mailbox in my bathrobe, expecting bills and junk mail. But there was a manila envelope from Charlotte Genetic Testing Laboratory. My hands shook so badly I almost couldn't open it. I ripped the envelope open right there on the sidewalk. The letter was clinical, straightforward. Paternity test results. Alleged father, Marcus Anthony Hale child, Ethan James Mitchell probability of paternity, 99.97%. Conclusion, Marcus Anthony Hale is not excluded as the biological father of Ethan James Mitchell. The probability of paternity is 99.97%, which means Marcus Anthony Hale is practically proven to be the biological father. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully, put it back in the envelope, and walked inside in a daze. Marcus was Ethan's father. Of course he was. I'd never doubted it for a second. But seeing it on paper, official and irrefutable, felt like armor. Jennifer couldn't touch this. She couldn't twist it. She couldn't spin it. I put the envelope in my purse. Then I texted Patricia, got the results. Marcus is the father. 99.97%. What do I do? She replied immediately, bring them to the event. If she tries anything, you'll have proof. At 10 a.m., I drove Ethan to school. The parking lot was packed with parents. The auditorium was buzzing with excitement. Kids were backstage preparing. Parents were finding seats, chatting, taking pictures. I sat in the back, near the exit. I wanted to be able to see everything. That's when Jennifer walked in. She was dressed like she was going to a wedding. A sleek black dress, heels, hair professionally styled, makeup perfect. She looked around the room with this satisfied expression, like she was surveying her kingdom. She saw me and smiled. That smile that said, I know something you don't. My stomach twisted into knots. She sat near the front, right in the center where everyone could see her. She greeted other parents warmly, introducing herself as Ethan's aunt. She made a point of talking to the principal, shaking his hand, laughing at something he said. She was setting the stage. I pulled out my phone and texted Patricia, she's here. I think she's going to do something. Record everything, Patricia replied. The ceremony started. The principal welcomed everyone, thanked teachers and parents, talked about the importance of recognizing student achievement. Kids were called up one by one. Parents clapped. Kids beamed. It was sweet and innocent and normal. Then Ethan's name was called. Ethan Mitchell, Student of the Month for excellence in science and kindness to his classmates. Ethan walked onto the stage, nervous but excited. The principal handed him a certificate. Parents clapped. I had my phone out recording, tears in my eyes because I was so proud of him. The principal handed Ethan the microphone. Would you like to say a few words, Ethan? Ethan nodded. His voice was small but clear. Thank you. I worked really hard this year. I want to thank my mom for always helping me with my homework and… That's when Jennifer stood up. Excuse me, Jennifer said loudly, her voice cutting through Ethan's speech like a blade. The room went silent. Every head turned. Ethan froze on stage, the microphone still in his hand. The principal looked confused. I'm sorry to interrupt, Jennifer continued, her voice dripping with fake sincerity, but I think everyone here deserves to know the truth about this family. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would explode. I stood up. Jennifer, sit down. She ignored me. She turned to face the crowd, playing to the audience. This woman, she said, pointing at me, has been lying to everyone for years. That boy, Ethan, isn't even her biological son. Gasps rippled through the auditorium. Parents turned to stare at me. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Ethan's face crumpled. Mom? She's been covering it up, Jennifer went on, her voice rising with false emotion. The DNA test is going to prove it. She had an affair. That child isn't who she says he is. This entire family is built on lies. The principal stepped forward, his face red. Ma'am, this is completely inappropriate. You need to leave immediately. But Jennifer wasn't done. She pulled out her phone, holding it up like it was evidence in a murder trial. I have proof, she announced. Messages. Dates. Timeline inconsistencies. Sarah Mitchell was having an affair during her marriage. Ethan isn't Marcus's biological son, which means all of this. She gestured wildly at the stage. At Ethan, at me, is a fraud. Parents were pulling out their phones. Some were recording. Others were whispering urgently to each other. Ethan was crying now, tears streaming down his face. I pushed through the aisle, shoving past people who were gawking like this was entertainment. You're insane, I said, my voice shaking with rage. You've completely lost your mind. Jennifer smiled. That same cruel, triumphant smile. Then prove me wrong, Sarah. Show everyone the DNA test. Show them the truth. The entire auditorium was watching us now. The principal was calling for security. Teachers were trying to shepherd kids off stage. But everyone's eyes were on me and Jennifer. And that's when I reached into my purse. You want proof? I said, my voice steady now despite the fury coursing through my veins. You want the DNA test? Jennifer's smile widened. Yes. Show them. I pulled out the manila envelope. This, I said, holding it high so everyone could see, is an independent DNA test from Charlotte Genetic Testing Laboratory. I had it done 2 weeks ago using samples from Ethan and Marcus. Jennifer's smile faltered slightly. And the results, I continued, ripping open the envelope and pulling out the official document, show a 99.97% probability that Marcus Anthony Hale is Ethan's biological father. The room erupted. Some parents gasped. Others started talking at once. Someone said, I knew it. Another person said, this is insane. Jennifer's face went white. That's not you faked that. You. I didn't fake anything, I said coldly. I turned to the crowd. This is an official, certified DNA test from an accredited laboratory. Marcus is Ethan's biological father. There was never any doubt. There was never any affair. My sister made up this entire story because she's jealous of my life. You're lying. Jennifer shrieked, lunging toward me. Security guards appeared, 2 of them, grabbing Jennifer by the arms before she could reach me. But that's not all, I said, my voice rising above Jennifer's screams. I pulled out a second document from my purse. This is a legal filing from my attorney. It documents 6 months of harassment, defamation, and conspiracy to commit fraud. My sister and my ex-husband have been working together to fabricate this story. Jennifer convinced Marcus that I cheated, that Ethan wasn't his son, all in an attempt to gain custody. I held up my phone, showing the screen to the crowd. I have messages between them. I have social media posts. I have records of her filing a false report with Child Protective Services. I have documentation of her showing up at Ethan's school asking invasive questions about our family. Jennifer was still struggling against the security guards, but her face had gone from white to crimson. You don't understand, she said, her voice breaking. She doesn't deserve him. She's always had everything. The perfect life. The perfect son. It's not fair. The words hung in the air. There it is, I said quietly. The truth. This was never about DNA. This was never about protecting Ethan. This was about you wanting what I have because you can't stand to see me happy. Jennifer's face crumpled. For just a second, I saw something in her eyes, shame, maybe, or the dawning realization of what she'd done. But then her expression hardened again. You're a terrible mother, she spat. You're always working. You're never around. Ethan deserves better. Ethan deserves better than an aunt who would destroy his life to satisfy her own jealousy, I shot back. The principal stepped between us. Security, please escort Ms. Mitchell off school property. She's not welcome here. The guards started pulling Jennifer toward the exit. She screamed the whole way. This isn't over, Sarah. You can't do this to me. I'll fight this. I'll. The doors slammed shut, cutting off her voice. The auditorium was dead silent. 200 people staring at me. I turned slowly, facing them all. I apologize, I said, my voice shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. I apologize that you all had to witness this. My sister has been waging a campaign against me for months. I've tried to handle it privately, but she forced this confrontation. I want you all to know that Ethan is my son. He is loved. He is safe. And no one is going to take him from me. Then I turned to the stage. Ethan was still standing there, frozen, tears streaming down his face. I ran to him. I ran up those steps and scooped him into my arms and held him so tight. I'm so sorry, baby, I whispered into his hair. I'm so sorry you had to see that. He clung to me, his small body shaking with sobs. Is Aunt Jennifer going to take me away? No, I said firmly. Never. You're mine. You'll always be mine." The principal quietly dismissed the ceremony. Parents filed out, some throwing sympathetic looks my way, others still whispering and recording on their phones. Teachers helped the other kids off stage. Within 10 minutes, the auditorium was empty except for me, Ethan, the principal, and one of the teachers, Ethan's science teacher, Mrs. Chin, who'd always been kind to us. "Is there anything we can do?" Mrs. Chin asked softly. "No," I said, wiping Ethan's tears. "But thank you." The principal cleared his throat. "Ms. Mitchell, I'm going to file a formal report about this incident. Your sister will be banned from school property indefinitely. If she returns, we'll contact the police." "Thank you," I said. "I have a restraining order pending. It should be finalized within the week." He nodded. "If you need anything at all, please let us know. Ethan is a wonderful student. You're a wonderful mother. What happened today was... I'm so sorry you had to go through that." I took Ethan home. We sat on the couch for hours, not talking, just being together. I held him. I told him he was safe. I told him I loved him more than anything in the world. That night, Patricia called me. "The video is already online," she said grimly. "Someone posted it on Facebook. It's getting thousands of views." My stomach dropped. Oh God. "But Sarah," Patricia continued, "it's actually working in your favor. Everyone can see Jennifer's behavior. Everyone can see your proof. The comments are overwhelmingly supportive of you. People are calling Jennifer unstable. Some are even demanding she face legal consequences." "What about Marcus?" I asked. I spoke with his attorney. Marcus is backing down. He watched the video. He's humiliated and ashamed. He admits Jennifer manipulated him. He's willing to sign a statement saying she fabricated the entire affair story. He's dropping the custody challenge and agreeing to supervised visitation with strict limitations. I felt a weight lift off my chest. "And Jennifer? The restraining order will be granted tomorrow. She's banned from contacting you or Ethan. She's banned from your workplace, Ethan's school, and your home. If she violates it, she'll be arrested." "Is that enough?" I asked quietly. "It's a start," Patricia said. "But Sarah, I want to pursue charges. Defamation. Harassment. Filing a false report with CPS. Conspiracy. She needs to face real consequences for what she did." "Do it," I said. "All of it." The next day, I sat down with Ethan. We had a long, age-appropriate conversation about what had happened. Aunt Jennifer was sick, I told him, which felt like the kindest way to explain it. Not sick like a cold. Sick in her heart and her mind. She made bad choices because she was hurting inside. But that doesn't make what she did okay. "Is she going to get better?" Ethan asked. "I don't know, baby," I said honestly. "But she can't be around us anymore. She hurt us too much." "I miss her," Ethan said quietly. "She used to be nice." "I know," I said, my throat tight. "I miss who she used to be too." My parents came over that evening. My mother was a wreck, red-eyed from crying, shaking with guilt. "I should have stopped her sooner," Mom said. "I knew she was jealous. I knew she was unstable. But I never thought she'd go this far." "It's not your fault," I told her, though part of me was still angry they hadn't intervened more aggressively. My father was quiet. He sat on the couch, his head in his hands. "Finally," he said, "we're cutting her off. Financially. Emotionally. She needs professional help, and we can't enable her anymore. She's moving to Arizona," my mother added. "She has a cousin there who offered her a place to stay. We told her she's not welcome in our home until she gets serious psychiatric help." I nodded. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me felt sad. Jennifer had been my sister for 34 years. We'd grown up together. We'd shared a bathroom and fought over toys and stayed up late watching movies. And now she was gone. 3 months passed. The restraining order held. Jennifer moved to Arizona without a fight. Marcus continued supervised visitation once a month. He was quiet, apologetic, clearly ashamed. He brought Ethan gifts and asked tentative questions about school. It wasn't a relationship, but it was civil. Ethan slowly bounced back. He had nightmares for a few weeks, dreams where people were taking him away. But with time and reassurance, they faded. He made new friends at school. He won second place at the science fair. He smiled more. Then I got a call from a detective in Arizona. "Ms. Mitchell, I'm Detective Rodriguez with the Phoenix Police Department. I'm calling because your sister, Jennifer Mitchell, was arrested yesterday." My heart sank. "For what?" "Harassment and attempted fraud," the detective said. "She befriended a single mother at a park. Started making similar claims that the woman's son wasn't biologically hers. Convinced the woman's ex-husband to file for custody. Filed false reports with child services. We found a pattern. She'd done this twice before in Arizona in the past 3 months." I closed my eyes. "She's doing it to other people." "It appears so," the detective said. "We're building a case. We'd like your testimony and documentation from your experience in North Carolina." "You'll have it," I said immediately. "Whatever you need." Jennifer was charged with multiple counts of harassment, filing false reports, and conspiracy to commit fraud. She took a plea deal, 2 years in prison, followed by 5 years of supervised probation and mandatory psychiatric treatment. I didn't attend the sentencing. I didn't want to see her. But Patricia sent me updates. She looked broken, Patricia told me. Small. Nothing like the woman who stood up in that auditorium. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel revenge. I just felt tired. Today, Ethan is 8 years old. He's in 3rd grade, still getting straight A's, still obsessed with science. He wants to be an astronaut, or a marine biologist, or a video game designer. It changes every week, and I love that about him. He doesn't talk about Jennifer much anymore. Occasionally he'll mention her. "Remember when Aunt Jennifer took me to the zoo?" But the memories are distant now, softened by time. Marcus and I have settled into a functional co-parenting relationship. He sees Ethan once a month. He pays child support on time. He's respectful. We'll never be friends, but we're making it work for Ethan's sake. My parents have stepped up. They're incredible grandparents, patient, loving, present. They've apologized dozens of times for not protecting me from Jennifer sooner. I've forgiven them. Family is complicated. None of us saw how deep Jennifer's issues ran. As for me, I'm healing. Slowly. I still have moments where I panic, where I see a car that looks like Jennifer's, or I get a weird email, and my heart races. But those moments are getting fewer and farther between. I've learned some hard lessons through all of this. First, trust your instincts. I knew something was wrong with Jennifer for months before it exploded. I ignored the warning signs because I didn't want to believe my sister would hurt me. Don't make that mistake. If someone is consistently tearing you down, planting seeds of doubt, making you question your reality, cut them off. Even if they're family. Especially if they're family. Second, protect your children at all costs. No one has the right to weaponize your kids against you. Jennifer tried to use Ethan as a tool to hurt me. She didn't care how it would damage him. When someone shows you they're willing to harm your child to get to you, believe them and act accordingly. Third, document everything. I had messages. I had social media posts. I had phone records. I had dates and times and witnesses. That documentation saved me. If you're in a toxic situation, keep records. Screenshot conversations. Save emails. Write down incidents with dates and details. You might need them. Fourth, stand your ground. When Jennifer stood up in that auditorium and tried to humiliate me, every instinct told me to run. To grab Ethan and leave. To hide. But I stood there and fought back. I had the truth on my side and I used it. Don't let toxic people steamroll you. Fight back. You deserve to protect your peace and your family. And finally, seek help. I couldn't have survived this without Patricia, without my parents, without Ethan's teachers who supported us. Don't try to handle everything alone. Lean on people who love you. Let them help carry the weight. I'm not going to pretend this has a perfect happy ending. Jennifer is in prison, but that doesn't erase the damage she did. There are still parents at Ethan's school who look at me funny. There are still people who saw that video and believed Jennifer's lies. There are still scars. But we survived. We're thriving. And that's what matters. Ethan came up to me last night while I was making dinner. He wrapped his arms around my waist and said, "Mom, I love you." "I love you too, baby," I said, kissing the top of his head. "You're the best mom in the whole world," he said. And that moment right there makes everything worth it. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever dealt with toxic family members or someone trying to destroy your life out of jealousy, I want to hear from you. Hit that like button. Drop a comment and tell me what you would have done in my situation. Would you have confronted Jennifer sooner? Would you have handled it differently? And if you want more real-life drama stories like this, stories about betrayal, justice, and fighting back, subscribe and turn on notifications. I share these stories because I want people to know they're not alone. Toxic family members exist. Conspiracies happen. But you can survive them. You can come out stronger. Thank you for watching, for listening, for being here. Your support means everything. Remember, DNA doesn't lie. But people do. And when they do, you fight back with the truth. Until next time, take care of yourselves and protect your peace.